Welcome, everyone, ladies, gentlemen, and everyone else. As per usual, we're very lucky to be here because this is, and it happens fairly rarely, the 34th Prime Meetup. So the previous one was 137. This one is 139. And the next one's going to be who knows when. It's going to be, woo! Hell yeah. So here we are at WarsawJS 139. And anyone here for the first time? One, two. So, okay, quite a few people, but so now we do the thing where people who are here not for the first time, we're gonna clap specifically for the people who are here for the first time so they feel empowered to come again. Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming for the first time. Right, so we are, again, as you could have deduced from the name, is a community of people revolving around all the things around JavaScript, but in reality, it's not always about JavaScript. It's about pretty much all the programming things, being a better human being, a better engineer, soft skills, you know, all the things. It's not just about JavaScript. It started with JavaScript. It ended with, well, we'll see what it will end with eventually, with the end of the universe, I guess. Ooh. So ambitious, right? So we don't just do meetups. Of course, we do meetups, but sometimes we do a conference once in a while. There's workshop. We got a blog if you want to share your article with us, so we can provide a nice canonical link to your article. Please contact us. Right? We do mentorings from time to time. We do photo sessions professionally. There's a WarsawJS Vibe Jam, and all of this you could join. You could find where all of this happens in our Discord. So if you scan this QR code, you can join our community, ask questions, get some answers, maybe find a job. Sometimes people post job stuff in there. So if you're one of those people who don't have a job, maybe it's a good place to be, who knows? Right, so again, we are on a mission to support everyone. Doesn't matter where you're from, what your name is, what your skin color is, and what languages do you speak. What religion is your thing? So anyway, mostly what we do is we follow Berlin Code of Conduct, which could be summed up by, can I swear? Is this streamed? I don't know. Don't be a nice person. This is how we sum it up, right? That's the code of conduct. So this is me. I'm gonna be your MC today. And now we're gonna start rounds of applause for people behind the scenes. So let's give a round of applause for Piotr and Alexandra for making this happen. Amazing. Well, just keep. We'll keep clapping. Keep clapping. Yes. Martina, like all these people, beautiful people. We thank each and every one of them. Perfect. We're speed running today. So if you want to join and help us making these wonderful events happen, so you can send us an email, which is kind of lame and old-fashioned, or you can, again, contact us in Discord. So we'd love to have you. It's a nice thing to do for the community, to meet new people. Again, if you're just starting out, make some connections in the industry now, things like that. And most importantly, if you want to be up here and talk to the world, share your things, and you know, be around and share how all the important things that you have to say. Scan the QR code, right? And you can be here and talk about things. I think it opens a lot of doors. Ultimately, it's a nice skill to have. It's to be up on stage and not be shy. I love this. Right, so let's talk about sponsors, which we do have quite a few. And without sponsors, this would have never happened, right? So thank you so much to XFang, Nord Security, and Dropbox. Let's just, one more round of applause, please. Because frankly, this is all volunteer and community driven, and without sponsors, who we even are. And thank you so much for DataArt for hosting us today. And with that in mind, I'm gonna invite a person from DataArt, Daria, come in here and tell us a few words.
Hi, everyone. My name is Daria. I am PR manager at DataArt. It's a pleasure to welcome you all today and having a WarsawJS community here in our DataArt co-working space. Before we jump into the talks, let me share a few words, of course, about DataArt. So DataArt is a global software engineering company that builds data analytics and AI platforms for clients around the world. We help organizations design and develop cloud native and data-driven solutions that, of course, bring real business value. We are a team of over 6,000 people working 40+ locations worldwide. Here in Poland, we've been present for 10 years. You can find our R&D centers in Lublin, Wrocław, Kraków, Łódź, and Warsaw. We work across many industries. For example, finance, insurance, travel and hospitality, media and entertainment, healthcare, and etc. Of course, if you want to stay in touch with us, I totally recommend to visit our website, dataart.com, when you can find all the info about us and find scanning the QR code job possibilities, and totally invite you to be in touch with us via social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, and of course, LinkedIn profile. And that's all from my side. Enjoy the talks, enjoy the networking, and of course, grab coffee or tea if you want from the kitchen, from the first floor, and hear some drinks. So thanks a lot and have a nice evening.
It's so nice to be here. Thank you so much again. And now, continuing the train, I would like to invite our friends from Nord Security. So for a couple of words, yes.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Hi, everyone. I'm Veronica. I'm Employer Brand Manager at Nord Security. And I'm here to tell you just a few words about Nord and about the special offer, which we will learn about in a second, that I hope will interest you. So let's jump ahead. So Nord Security is a Lithuanian company founded a couple of years ago with a headquarters in Vilnius. It became one of the Lithuanians' tech unicorns and has been growing ever since. And what is Nord Security? You may recognize us from NordVPN, which is, I think, one of the most popular of our products. We are a cybersecurity powerhouse, so we create cybersecurity products for individuals and for businesses alike. Although the company is from Lithuania, it has been growing in Poland, hence I started working here, as the Polish market is strategic for us in terms of the global operations and in terms of the company growth. So we currently have over 400 people in Poland, in our offices in Warsaw and Krakow, but also remotely. And we keep growing the team. We're hiring on-site and remotely, and currently we have over 50 open roles. And I got to say, it is difficult for us to find good people. That's why we decided to do everything we can to get the best talents. And that's why we launched an external referral program. And currently we have a very limited special offer because the senior and leadership roles are super difficult for us to fill. So if you know anyone, your friends, then please send them our way. As long as they pass our probation period, we will send you 2,000 euros for the help. So thanks a lot. Thanks for your attention and have a great evening tonight.
Wow. I didn't realize Nord Security is this old. It's 2012, that's what, 14 years ago. Oh, nice offer. I love money, as should you do. So who knows, maybe I'll find someone. Right, and of course, now, as per usual, our usual partner Rebellion, and I would like to invite Ilyas here, and yeah, just do another round of applause for him, of course, he deserves it. So, there you go ahead.
Thanks. Hi everyone, glad to see you all tonight. So for those who doesn't know me yet, my name is Ilyas, I'm representing Rebellion. We're a proud partner for WarsawJS once again. We're dealing tonight with the live stream as well as all the pictures that will be taken tonight. So I want to give a big shout out to my team, Ola and Tomek. Without you guys, won't be possible. So thank you very much. I will give you a bit of context about Rebellion, but I promise I will be quick. So Rebellion is a French-Polish company. It was created 13 years ago in Paris, and now we're operating from Warsaw and Tashkent. Here you can have a display of all the services we provide. But to sum it up, we basically provide premium expertise for a digital transformation project for companies. But today, I really want to highlight the point number 4, which is, let's say, our newest offer, even though it's not new anymore. To give you a bit of context, we opened a delivery center in Tashkent, and it helps you basically to scale your team or your product in a very cost-effective way. We have a wide range of people there, any stack, any seniority, and it's, as I said, very efficient way to scale your team. And it will be my main point. The first one, to relieve your main engineering team, allowing them to focus on the core product development without giving them the whole pressure. I invite you to scan here the QR code if you want to get more information. And if you want to have a talk about that later, please feel free to reach out. And yeah, let's enjoy this magnifique event together. Thanks.
Wait, that's French for Webelian, or?
It's like the French translation of j'adore, which means.
Oh, I see. Oh, okay. Oh, that's Polish, right? Is it? No.
Yes.
No. Okay. I'm sorry. Oh, wow, that was embarrassing a little bit, but yeah. With that in mind, so we have a little bit of a change of plans today because we have some friends, guests from Gdynia. Is it just Gdynia? All of you from Gdynia? Both of you?
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, so, and they drove to the wrong address and now they don't have enough time. That was partially our fault. Anyway, so now while we do, can you just fill in some time while I do set up your...
Yeah, I can try to tell some jokes, but I don't have any prepared. We are just setting up the screen mirroring in a proper way.
Wow.
I can count to 10. Like,
Which address did you go to?
the wrong one. Oh, yeah, it
look
works.
at that.
It's perfect, I hope.
Not touching anything.
Yeah,
So yes, please do tell us.
yeah. I just checking if it works. It works. Great. Cool. Let me align it a little bit. Okay, cool. So as you may notice, I'm from Dropbox. My name is Bartosz. And I want to tell you something about Dropbox that you may probably not know, but you may suspect. So most people know Dropbox as a place to store and share files. But today we are solving a much broader challenge. How to help people work more effectively in increasingly complex world. Every day, hundreds of millions of people rely on Dropbox to find information, collaborate across teams, protect their content, and increasingly use AI to get the work done faster. Behind those experiences are large-scale distributed systems, search infrastructure, AI-powered workflows, security technologies, and collaboration platforms operating around the world. We are not just building tools to work, we are helping define how work happens next. One thing that is important to understand about Dropbox is that engineers are trusted with meaningful problems. There is a strong culture of ownership here. You are expected to challenge assumptions, contribute ideas, and help shape the solution, not just implement it. That shows up in how we work. We care a lot about engineering, craft. We learn from each other, and because we are virtual first, we've been forced to be intentional about how we collaborate and share the knowledge. We also use AI extensively in our day-to-day work, from coding, assisting, and to automate routine tasks. So engineers can spend their time on meaningful problems. And basically, that culture is what brought me here. This is the end of the marketing part. And now I can go to... I didn't expect applause here, but I hope you have some energy for the next part. So I'm Bartosz, as I already mentioned. You can find me... Yeah, I forgot to tell I love this community. You can easily find me under this handle in the internet. I'm an engineer. And like many of us, I have two defining qualities. I'm lazy, and my attention span is held together by a duct tape. When a tool forces me to do boring, repetitive clicks every day, I don't become a better human. I become dangerous and quite motivated to change things. This talk is all about that. Here is the problem. Sometimes the app you use every day is good enough, almost. It does 80% of what you need. But last 20% is where your soul slowly leaves your body. You think, fine, I will use the API. Then reality enters the chat. Now you need extra setup, authentication, permissions, tokens, maybe an app registration, maybe some admin approval, maybe a small ritual involving a documentation from 2019. Obviously, all that is based on the assumption that the official API even exists. You don't want to build a product. That's the best part. You don't want a roadmap, a telemetry, or settings page. You don't want to make users happy because you don't even want to have users. You want your tool ugly, local, effective, slightly unhinged. So, what are the obvious options? You could build a Chrome extension. And extensions are powerful. They let you create pop-ups, many items, custom pages, sidebars, all that civilized stuff that you probably don't need. Browser extensions may not work anyway, because once you start injecting scripts into existing apps, you hit restrictions. Some apps are not excited about your creativity. Your Jira admin, for example, can make things really annoying by blocking any content scripts. And of course, the answer to our prayers is hiding in plain sight. The browser console. But it's disposable, error-prone, quirky in a way, so I give you the better answer. Browser code snippets. The code snippets in Chrome feel like a weird side quest, until suddenly they become your operating system. You take a closer look at the snippets, you might get confused a little bit, because I told you that I don't need custom UI. Yet those names suggest something totally different. So stay with me. My use case is pretty straightforward. I want to export Jira and Confluence content so I could manage it locally as Markdown files. You know, just to make my LLM happy that it doesn't have to use any clunky MCP servers. And in this case, if we add one extra piece to that puzzle, a small local web server, we can make it work quite easily. Because when I open Jira in the browser, a snippet can talk to both sides, to the app, because it runs in the browser context, and to my local server, which runs Atlassian document format to Markdown conversion. When I want to sync back, I just hit another snippet. So the browser becomes a relay. And you may already think what other options we have here. This is the part I like most because it's not just automation, it's cognitive load management. I'm no longer wandering around given web app, waiting for the UI to load, keep forgetting what was my purpose on that page. I have all my workflows codified, neatly organized, controlled by a bunch of Markdown files that sit on my disk. And all managed by LLM of my choice. If I want to sync Jira tickets, I run a snippet. I want to sync Confluence page or pull latest comments, I run a snippet. It's that simple. And there is a security upside too. The setup is intentionally narrow. The snippet is only available. This is the only place where the browser context is available. And I control exactly what it does and what kind of data it has access to. So no customer data land in third-party LLMs. So this setup works. But there is one more problem I kept running into. If you ever use DevTools snippets seriously, you quickly discover the weird part. Creating snippets is easy. I would say even trivial. But managing them is weird. By default, you have no manual open each, sorry. By default, you have to open each of them manually. There is no UI to manage them at scale. You cannot batch export them, import, all that stuff that you probably want to do with your tools. You want to version them. So Chrome doesn't give me any UI. So I asked myself the only reasonable question. Can I build DevTools for my DevTools? So I Googled like a dinosaur, and I quickly realized how deep in a rabbit hole I am, because I found exactly one blog post describing in details how to mess with snippets. And it was from 2017, so I was just mildly confident. It started innocently from the old trick I first saw on JSConf in Berlin, undocking DevTools, letting it live in a separate window. Once it's undocked, it's like a browser, so you can open DevTools for your DevTools. Fun part, you can push this to the extreme, but I didn't find that useful yet. The first thing that proved the blog post outdated is the thing that you see on the screen. Classic, but nothing that could stop me at this moment. After some digging, I found a property called script snippets with a dash. That's where Chrome keeps the snippets. Once I knew the key, extracting the data was trivial. My snippets as clean JSON, ready to save, version, and restore. At this point, it stopped being a workflow, but became my personality trait. And because every bad idea deserves a premium tier, I also have YOLO mode. In YOLO mode, the browser snippet opens WebSocket connection to the local server. Then the local server can push messages back to the browser. And those messages can contain JavaScript. And yes, that JavaScript can go through eval, or evil, since it's how it should be pronounced anyway. Is it safe? Maybe, in parallel universe. But for a tightly controlled, personal, local-only setup, it becomes a fascinating experiment in turning the browser into a programmable remote hand. So the bigger point is not everybody should use eval and detach DevTools like a goblin. There is a huge space between manual work and a full product-grade integration. And in that space, browser snippets are ridiculously underrated. When repetitive work starts eating your soul, don't just ask, can I automate this? Think, what is the smallest tool I can build for myself? For me, that turned out to be Chrome DevTools as snippets, a local server on port 3000, and a level of curiosity that should probably be monitored. What would it be for you? Thank you. That was more stressful than I expected. Do we have time for questions, or?
Yeah, we can have a couple of questions, perhaps.
Anyone? Oh, you have a question.
What was the original problem? Excuse me, my name is Eugen. What was your original problem for that? Why you dig this deep?
Yeah, there are a few things that just don't work in the normal setup when you try to fetch Jira issues or Confluence pages. Okay. The problem is that you don't have access to certain things using API, and also if you want to use the API, you basically navigate through Jira, you find certain URLs that you want to consume. So in my mind, when I work with Jira, I navigate through the pages. And I'm, for example, at certain place where I find the information that I just want to put in my Markdown files locally. So I don't want to dance between terminal and calling the API from the terminal and stuff like that. I just open the Chrome DevTools and hit the correct snippet. And it fetches the current page as a source of truth for the rest of my workflow. And this is basically the main thing because I didn't have access to Atlassian MCP server. So I weren't able to use the automation that is exposed in the LLM. So I decided I want to fetch Markdown stuff and put it locally. You have a follow-up question, I feel.
Yeah, isn't Jira scripting powerful enough to get whatever you want with required fields in some custom dashboard and then just export it?
Yeah, this is something, but do you want to go through legacy settings pages and fetch all the stuff that way and then move it manually? Yeah, as I said, this is crazy. So this is not something I recommend. I'm just showing you that there is an option to automate anything that is related to web apps in the browser if you run code snippets, because you have access to everything that the original app has. So in browser extensions case, you sometimes are limited. In this case, you can do whatever you want. So just like sanity is the limitation.
So yeah, thanks. One of my questions was about actually why not Chrome extension, and we'll talk about this maybe in a corridor somewhere. So yeah, once again, give a hand for it was a fun. Right now, please bear with me while I change display settings once again to go back to mirroring and. Ooh, yes. So since we've gone a little bit off track, usually I talk also about our partners, which I did a little bit, and we just gonna say quick thanks to also KMag and JetBrains for helping us out, ever-changing, like never-changing partners for all of our meetups. And I think we have KMag journals, right? The magazines, not the journals, that's the right word. Right, so we have some magazines to give away from KMag to people who ask good questions during the full slot talks. So if you're curious, ask questions, and if your question is good enough, or the best, has to be the best, right? You'll get a magazine. Right, so quick rundown of our amazing speakers, which you will see very soon. And I'm, again, speed running it very quickly. Have a lot of, so 3 full talks ahead, 3 lightning talks, one of them, which we already just seen just now. And then I would like to invite Łukasz Rybka on stage to talk about something really fun. Go ahead. And now, yeah, you say something while I open your.
Good evening, everyone. How's everybody doing? Ooh, nice. That's excellent. Okay. There you go. Perfect. Thank you. So, my name is Lucas, and I'm a senior architect at Liaison International. And before I dive into the presentation, I wanted to tell you a little bit more than usual about myself. So, I have more than 15 years of experience. I also have been a lecturer at universities, multiple of them. I've been a bootcamp trainer, total around 10 years. And I've been public speaker, maybe it will not show today, from basically 2016. And I have ADHD, which actually shows when I talk with people about my hobbies. And last year, I acquired a new hobby, which is scuba diving. So last year I became a certified open water diver, certificate scuba diver from PADI. And I'm telling you this because my journey into this scuba diving, I believe, is strongly connected to how people that want to enter the software development industry right now might feel. So after I got my certification, it was the end of 2025. I have been so excited. I could not wait till I get my first free dive with my scuba dive buddy that I had during this certification. So I approached the school that I did the certification and asked for organizing such a trip. And we decided that even though the conditions are very bad, it was in January, so the temperatures above water level were below freezing. And there were some complications that we learned along the way that, for instance, we could not use regulators during the dive when we were above the water because it would freeze and the whole dive would end prematurely. And because the temperatures were so low and the parts of the surface were starting to froze, we could not do a standard dive, which is go as far as you can and then dive down. So you actually presume a lot of air this way. So even though it was not ideal, I was so hyped up. Everybody said, yeah, you're a certified scuba diver. You can do whatever right now within, of course, the open water diver certification rules, which is 80 meters deep. So we selected a shipwreck. It was ORP Brisa, which is in the north of the Baltic Sea. So we started the dive. I invited my scuba buddy like I wanted, and we have two dive masters with us because it was pretty technical dive. And it was very long, careful approach. It took a lot of time because we needed to preserve as much air as possible and because of the conditions. The one thing that was scary for me personally was that we could not at any given moment go above, even if we were diving at 3, 4, 5 meters below the water levels, the surface level, sorry, because of the temperatures above, it will end immediately the dive. So we went with it. We started to see actually the actual wreckage. We were, I would estimate, between 5 and 10 meters from it. And then a catastrophe happened. My mask was unsealed. Because of the pressure and the way that I have prepared my equipment as a novice in scuba diving, it broke the seal and the water was starting to go into my mask. It was flooding my mask, so I could not see. And I tried for a minute or two, which is eternity when you're below the water. And I tried to clear it as I was taught during the course, which is a few weeks course, but on the weekends. And after like 2 minutes around, I started to panic. I had full-blown panic attack. And believe me, it's not easy to actually tell you this, but I think that it might be useful for some people. And the panic attack came from the situation where I was basically hopeless. I could not get my mask to defog and to lose the water in normal, regular ways that we were taught. So fortunately, we had very experienced dive masters with us. So one of them, seeing my struggles and through the chain of communications that we do and we train during the certification, he was notified. He came as soon as he could, and he did 3 things with me. So first, he made me calm. He actually physically took my hands. So nothing else mattered from that moment. I knew that I was safe. I wanted as much as possible. I wanted to go up. But no, he grounded me basically, didn't allow for that panic to overtake me. Then he helped me to focus. He basically helped me remove all of the distractions. He just was there for me to help. And then he did the third thing, which is give me the proper tool. The mask, as it turns out, after the dive, during the debrief, my mask was over-tightened. I never would imagine that the mask of a scuba diver can be over-tightened. If it is over-tightened and there are low temperatures, it actually, and you're diving in a dry suit, it actually prevents the mask to properly seal around your face. Around your eyes. And that was my problem. So he gave me a proper tool. With those 3 things, I was able to clear my mask within like 5-6 seconds as I was told. But because I had this panic attack. The next step is to actually check the pressure levels at every tank of the entire team that is diving. And my tank was not empty, but close to empty. Didn't allow me to actually continue the dive. So there was a signal, we are cutting the dive short, we're turning around, and we're going back. So the whole group's dive ended. It was not that we separated, no. When you're diving, especially in the harder conditions, you just basically do it as a team or you don't do it as a team at all. So we went back, and 4 people were, even with huge hopes, were basically left with nothing after the dive because of me, because of my problem that I brought to the dive. And you can imagine my drive home, fulfilled with self-blame. And to be honest, that accident, this and another one, actually made me realize that this sounds or feels actually similar to when I was entering the software development industry many, many years ago. It was more than 20 years ago. And how would people, aspiring junior developers, feel now when the industry is even worse? It's worse for senior developers, it's worse for mid developers, and it's even worse for junior developers. So people right now, I feel, and I have experienced that during my dive, but like I said, it may correlate to junior developers, can feel 3 things. They can feel overwhelmed because now in the era of AI, it's a lot more that we need to learn. And there is a lot more expectation from us as the developers, right? Because we have the tooling that should allow us to actually work faster, better, more precisely, without assistance and so on and so on. We will get back to it. And because of that, people start to feel worthless. Not only junior developers, but I have actually met with a lot of people who planned to join the IT and they decided not to because they were afraid that they will not bring anything meaningful to the industry, so nobody will hire them. And a lot of them are reading the newspaper articles or Facebook posts or scrolling through TikTok and see things like, don't bother joining the IT. Now the junior level jobs are obsolete. AI will replace everything, which we all know is BS. But people are feeling that fear and the problem. So the talk here is to actually make you realize that that is not true. This is only a media effect that social media is having, and a lot of the large companies' practices that are counterproductive for the industry as a whole. So, as I said, if you would now, or within the last year, scroll to TikTok, Instagram, Facebook Reels, whatever, and if you would doom scroll, you probably would see something like this. You hear one influencer telling you to learn the fundamentals. Then you scroll to the next reel. Nah, skip the fundamentals. AI will handle those now. Then you scroll down next. No, you need to build a side project to stand out. Another one, don't waste time on the side projects. Just the real work matters. Another one is gonna tell you that AI is gonna master, you need to master AI, to be employable. And another one will say, just don't lean on AI. You will hollow yourself, you will be worthless, and so on and so on. So, and it continues, it's an unbreakable circle at some point if you start to doom scroll. And if you have emotions in the mix, you're actually thinking or trying actively to join the industry, this is very harmful and this is very problematic for a lot of aspiring people. And I don't mean only young people. I met a lot of, during my bootcamp training, and Bartosz met even more of them because he's more experienced. A lot of people that are older and are coming from different industries, a few years back saw the path. It was pretty clear, pretty open. Now with the AI, if they would feel fear that they would not fulfill any placement in the industry, now they're totally decapitated from that thought. So we have 3 typical archetypes of aspiring developers. And at least I saw that during the university at times. The one, and I'm the most close to this actual one, the never ready one. That person, that archetype is gonna be always studying. It's not gonna apply anything to practical terms. He or she will have multiple roadmaps, multiple YouTube playlists. How many of you, actually, this is a question to you, how many of you have Udemy account? How many of you have bought Udemy course in the past, in let's say 10 years, it doesn't matter. How many of you finished all of your purchased Udemy courses? We have one unicorn on it. Congratulations, man. I'm not the one. I have like 20 plus Udemy courses that I purchased and I never finished them. And the problem with that personality is that they feel that they need to learn even more and even more. There's never a finish line. There is never a finished objective. Now the AI era have brought us another archetype, which is the vibe coder, our favorite, right? For people who are actually actively working in the industry and have some kind of an experience. That person ships fast. He uses whatever tooling is available and is popular right now. Whatever the most popular influencer in the AI space right now recommends, he or she will jump into it, and he or she will ship as fast as possible. And he or she might actually feel hollow and not secure because they don't understand what actually is happening, because they don't have the fundamental knowledge or experience to back the vibe coding. And there is a traditionalist, and I was surprised, but I still am seeing people who have this kind of a approach that they will finish university or something like that, or technical university. They will work hard for the degrees and that will be enough. Or maybe they will get some kind of an internship and that will be enough. And later on, we can see all, those kind of people on LinkedIn posting very betrayal-like posts at Sunday nights because they are basically bickering. And all of them have one single problem. And I'm from the conversation I recently had, and from my personal experience in scuba diving, actually this correlates because they did not have the guidance. They have bought to the marketing of either the industry or the school or whatever they used or approach in order to get to their goal. And the honest truth is, AI is here. We're not gonna remove it. It's gonna stay with us till the end, until, of course, somebody figure out something even better than AI. And agentic doesn't count. We all know that. But this is the tool, and it is useful at any given level. But that also is not an excuse, for instance, to not think, to ship without any review, personal review, local review, without any guidance, guide rails, and stuff like that. And I believe that at least experienced audience here is that fourth person, because you have achieved, you have entered the industry that we are currently in. I would like to, before I go to that fourth archetype, that successful one, I would like you to give you a follow-up on the dive, actually, very quick sentence. So after my first dive, immediately the day after, I already was enrolled into 2 or 3 more courses in the scuba diving, even though I did not yet had the experience that is actually required, because the school recommended, hey, this is a package, you can go and clear all those certifications that are used when you're diving overseas, which I had planned, and so on and so on. And this is that never-ending learning cycle without any actual experience. And I called myself in time to actually stop that. And I asked for assistance from some senior instructor, if there is available in the school, to actually go through the experience. That comes from my experience in the IT industry. I needed to review, do the post-mortem of the problem that I had. And many people don't understand when they try to go into into software development right now that it is very tricky and there is a lot of opinions and everybody is different. So you probably need some kind of a guidance and you need that seniority person in your life to give you that guidance to help you achieve the goal. And we did that in the scuba diving. I talked for like 20, 30 minutes, explained everything, and the conclusion was easy. You're lacking fundamentals. Yes, you have the certification, and it was that first dive was like my first interview in the industry. I failed it. I'm not ashamed of saying that. My actual first 3 or 4 interviews, I bonked. They were terrible. And the same happened right now, but at least I could first not be too proud to ask for help, but also recognize that the problem might not be resolvable by myself. So we went back to the fundamentals. We spent 2 months in the swimming pool working solely on fundamentals. It was the most boring Friday to Friday to Friday to Friday training sessions, multiple hours every time, just to train what have failed. And he spot a lot of small mistakes during those. And the second dive, TLDR, because I'm taking too much time already, it was successful, not because we achieved the goal again, but even though I again had the panic attack, which can be comparable to second, third, fourth job interview as a newcomer to the industry, even though it happened, I didn't stop there. I progressed and I actually finished the dive successfully. And even though it might seem weird that I'm happy that I didn't achieve the goal is very subjective. My personal goal was to finish, however, the dive with the panic attack, and I still, till this day, many months ago, after the incident, I still have those panic attacks when I'm diving, and it's a low visibility environment. I wanted to finish. I didn't want to be overcome by the panic attacks. And for that, this is a success. For a aspiring junior developer, that success can be just go and finish the job interview, regardless of the result. It doesn't matter if you get the job or internship. It doesn't actually matter. You just need to do the work and continue with the fear in the back of the mind. Because the thing that I was told is actually very applicable to many things in life. The feeling that you have is only temporary. We need to keep working on it and it will get better, like with everything. So the fourth archetype that I was telling you about is that mindful junior developer or aspiring junior developer. They know the panic will come, but they also come to it. They actually go through with the plan, even though they know they expect the panic attack. And they're mindful enough to actually understand and realize, yeah, the panic attack will come. And they know when to ask for help. That help for junior developer can be, they want to somebody to help them review their plan, how to go into the industry, or maybe they're doing some kind of a project and they want a architectural review, or maybe some coding examples that they need to work on, or maybe just soft skills, the interview skills. Doesn't matter. They know that for some of the areas they are not perfect, they need to work on, but they need to ask for help. And they know what to ask for. They are mindful enough to identify it. And that identification can come sometimes from the failure. And this is the most important thing right now in the industry, because a lot of junior, mid, senior, principal, whatever level, with all of the layoffs and stuff like that, especially in the United States right now, and a lot of you I know work for companies outside of Poland. There's a lot of layoffs, and a lot of experienced people actually get layoffs or don't get the job. And this is our new reality. So imagine how the junior will feel. But in the era of AI, the truth is that the industry, even though the headlines in the newspapers are telling you differently, the industry still needs you. It is not as idyllic like Anthropic CEO is telling you, or NVIDIA CEO is telling you that everything is going to be automated, AI is going to handle everything. Do we have any Star Trek fans? You have it. Maybe. Oh, no. There is something very specific, especially in Star Trek. They're very, very advanced. They can travel in these space and all that shit. And they can beam themselves to whatever. They can create food out of almost nothing. And yet, on the bridge, there's always somebody that is working the machine. It is not autonomous. To a certain degree, yeah, but there's always a human oversight. And that is how our industry is going to look like. Not that we are going to wear uniforms, but that we are going to still be needed at any level. Because you need to first be a junior, you need to first crawl to take a normal steps. So there are quickly 4 steps for junior developers that I can identify. The first one, get calm. Don't get into that whole BS from social media. Don't worry. If you want to be a junior developer, be it, try, do whatever it needs. Stop doom scrolling in the evenings. Preferably delete Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. And then you need to think about what is stopping you right now. What is your Achilles? What is your foggy mask? Is it the boring fundamentals? Maybe you were overdoing the AI development. Maybe the other way around. Maybe you're not knowledgeable enough to use the AI tools because you didn't take any course. And even tools like Claude have their courses on how to use it, how to prompt them, how to use it, how to use their workflows and stuff like that. The second one is see the real problem. And I have seen that many times with people without the experience in the industry. They were over-focusing on what actually is the problem, and they were thinking, oh, I should learn React, or I should do, and back then it was Angular and Knockout.js and other toolings and stuff like that. No. The problem is what makes you employable in 2026. And one of the things is, first of all, pick the specialization. Don't overdo it with things like full stack engineer, because that's too broad of a scope. Commit to either front-end, back-end data scientist, or automation QA. And commit to that for a year at least, because this is going to be a long journey. The next one is take the proper tools. And the first tool that I'm going to mention is probably going to be the most controversial, is I am a strong believer still in 2026 that people should go to the technical universities and get their technical degree. The reason is not the curriculum, because it's shit and it lacks and it was always outdated. It is not for that. These skills, the problem-solving skills, the stress, achieving the deadlines and all that stuff, that is what the university teaches you, if you're at the age for that. It shows you how to solve problems, deal with stress and all of that. Bootcamps are fine, but they don't teach it to that degree because they are very short. The second tool is the boring fundamentals. And this actually is what distinguishes the mindful junior and the first one that learns too much from the vibe coders. Learn the fundamentals. They will never go away. This is like with the physics. Everybody, regardless at what year people will learn physics, they will start from the same fundamentals, mathematics fundamentals and physics fundamentals. The same applies to the IT. Learn the design patterns. You would be surprised. I have pleasure working with people at different levels, and I have met a lot of people at, in theory, seniority levels that don't know what solid is, what design patterns are. The only thing that they know from testing is that it should be green. They don't know how to parameterize. They don't understand the basic concepts like given, when, then, the structures, the page objects, if it is for end-to-end, and so on, so on. The mocking external dependencies, oh my God, this is something mind-blowing for people. And this is something that will give you that confidence that, okay, I know the fundamentals, from that I can build everything, right? The third tool, and this is actually another thing that probably will be weird to hear, is that the AI is actually helping you. It doesn't close the door. First of all, the AI as a tool from Claude, Cursor, Perplexity, Gemini, it doesn't matter. a week from now, all that will be outdated and we'll use different tools. Most of them have free tiers for people that are students or learning or for personal usage. So there's no excuse not to use it. The tool can actually replace, to a certain degree, a senior that you're missing in your life that can either review your code, they can review your why when you're doing something. They can be your tutors or they can be your judges when you're doing a side projects. There are skills already prepared to actually ask, hey, like I did actually during the presentation, I asked AI, particularly Claude, I asked, hey, ask me anything you want and I will answer. If not, we'll change the direction of the presentation. Maybe something will not be clear. AI can guide you to a certain degree with a lot of resources that the industry have gathered throughout the years. It can actually guide you based on the time that you have each day, each week, or the level of experience that you currently have. And the most important thing, properly prompted AI shuts up when it should. So you need to work with it. It shouldn't work you. And the thing that is, from my perspective, very important for junior developers, the AI as a tooling and the gap that it creates actually creates new opportunities. I'm not talking about the new roles that you can hear on social media that are opening, especially overseas, that people are embedding unexperienced people to introduce AI to companies like contractors in the past. Now, what I mean is that the pool of aspiring people is getting smaller and smaller because they are afraid, they give up. So this is actually the chance. So the fourth move, I believe the most important, is to actually write a plan. Because with all the oversight of how big the industry right now is, how many specialization there is, how many toolings we are using in everyday life, it can be overwhelming. So you need to build a schedule. And first the plan and then the schedule. And again, AI can actually help you work with that plan, see if you're taking too much on yourself or maybe something should be enough. And AI also can give you a feedback loop if you don't have in your life or close proximity a seniority person. So from those four, the people who I am currently surrounded by are the mindful juniors or mid or senior developers on principles and so on and so on. But if me personally, if I made it, and I made a lot of mistakes during my career, and a lot of the attempts that I did were failures, if I did it, there is still hope. Keep working. It's finally gonna happen, but work mindfully. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. That was inspiring. I don't think we have enough time for questions, unfortunately. Even though still we're gonna have a break, a pizza break now, and all the people will ask you questions in person during the break. So be ready.
We are going to be available. We're
Yes.
not getting away.
So not right away. You're not driving right away.
No, no.
Perfect. Don't get lost.
Okay.
Was another round of applause, please? Yes. And now,
Thank you very much.
And now we're gonna have a quick intervention from our friend Rafał Pacztarski for a quick lightning talk, just in time for us to get pizza. That's why it's a change of plans, a change of schedule, a little bit. So let's see. There you go. Perfect. Please.
Okay, hello, I am Rafał Pacztarski, and I will give a quick lightning talk about cloud code that is a double agent and that we must be super careful when using it. And also what can we do to make our work with it a little bit safer. So the problem with AI assisted programming based on LLM, specifically agents, is that they are fundamentally unsafe in a way how the token stream is interpreted, and each LLM actually emits a single stream of tokens, and there's not really much time to go deeply into that, but the consequence of it is that emitting a single stream of tokens, the orchestration software must decide which tokens are to be interpreted as text to be presented to the user and which ones to be interpreted as instructions to be executed on the computer of the user. And without any virtual machine or sandbox or something like this, or like hard protections from the operating system, this is fundamentally not safe to let LLM give any unrestricted instructions to do access to give access to all of your data, all of your files, credentials, and things like this. Actually, I will quickly go through some of the links to interesting articles. At the end, I will give the link to the presentation so you can maybe read some of those. But there's a lot of interesting research and articles about how actually the control planes of LLMs work, how the token stream is interpreted into on the one hand, text to be presented to the user, on the other hand, to the instructions. This is quite complex, and this is important to understand it to even evaluate if it is like safe for you to run on your computer unrestricted, or do you need some virtual machine, or maybe some Docker container, or maybe I don't know, some other user account or something like this. So I will, having like information that we don't have a lot of time, I will just go through some of the titles. I encourage everyone to read it later, how the LLMs work, this is also, and this is the problem with the fundamental architecture of LLM-based coding assistance, but also tools like Cloud Code has actually a very bad history of actual vulnerabilities on top of that. So the model fundamentally is not safe in itself without some restrictions, and also there were a lot of incidents regarding Cloud Code. Especially what I am concerned in this talk is about leaking the tokens and other credentials and some secrets that you have on your computer. So there are multiple incidents. Even the Cloud Code leaked its own source code. So like, I mean, it even leaked itself. So if it cannot even like keep itself secure, so your code is not in better hands than it itself. Also, there is some sandboxing of the Cloud Code is already had some vulnerabilities, and that were exposing user credentials, and even Anthropic knew about some of those for months and didn't even do much about it. So also, like, we cannot trust that it will be fixed in a timely manner. There were multiple other flaws also. I encourage everyone to read about it, but I would like to focus about something else other than the actual vulnerabilities. So what can we do about this? So from one hand, what is the solution? On the one hand, the entire model is like fundamentally unsafe with no restrictions, and this is about the interpretation of a single stream of tokens that is like interpreted on the one hand to the text, for the text to display to the user and for the instructions to execute. And also there is a very bad track record of actual vulnerabilities and attacks and prompt injections and things like this. So the solution that I found is that first of all, like, I don't see it is safe to run Cloud Code without any kind of sandbox. Just to give any access to all your credentials, because you on your computer you have a lot of usually like your I don't know, SSH keys, you have like some AWS tokens, everything that you are logged into, some cloud accounts and things like this. Usually this is accessible as some files on your file system. So my advice is to have it run in a sandbox. And previously I thought that maybe a virtual machine, like something like VirtualBox or something, is something the only way to do it. But I found a more convenient way, which I will show in a moment. But just the 3 advices that I have is like to not have it run having any read access to any credentials, even its own credentials, like its own tokens. can also be leaked, and you can like find yourself having a huge bill for Anthropic or for other agent because someone took your credentials and used it in for a lot of work. To not have write access to any files that are not in Git or other versioning control. So if I give the Cloud Code any write access to files, I want only to have it able to edit files that I can easily see git diff, what actually changed. I can git reset to check out files from the repository. So not to give unrestricted access to addition of any files that are outside of a source control. And also no direct access to any public APIs, to any non-public APIs. Actually, it can access some things that you are not like logged into it. So the solution that I found, and I would encourage anyone to see, this is quite new thing. There are Docker sandboxes specifically built for tools like Cloud Code and Cursor and other let's say vibe coding tools. It is quite easy to install. Just use brew on Mac, apt-get on Ubuntu. There are some easy instructions to have it, and it installs a single command sbx. You run sbx login. It opens a website to login in Docker first. So you need to authenticate in the Docker account, and then you just run commands like sbx run cloud. You don't even need to install cloud yourself. So Docker will do it for you. You don't need to bother about installing anything from Anthropic. And then it will also execute it inside a safe sandbox. By default, it will only have read and write access to the current directory when you execute this command, but you can also have it more advanced, which I show a little bit later. Then you just inside the Cloud Code that is run inside of the Docker sandbox, you just write /login, and it will open the Anthropic website to actually authenticate for your Cloud Code account. And what's interesting is that it doesn't even store the credentials for this inside of the sandbox. The credentials are stored actually outside of the virtual machine. So even the Cloud Code doesn't have access to its own tokens. So like its own login tokens to Cloud Code. So this is also quite nice. It is handled in a way that actually Docker exposes some proxy that the cloud inside the virtual machine uses, and the tokens are injected by the outside layers of the sandbox. So they are not even in that way. The only files that Cloud Code has access to is the actual files in only this directory that this command was executed in, and doesn't even have access to its own tokens for its own credentials for accessing its API. More advanced way to run it is using this sbx create command, where you can create a specific cloud or some other agent. It supports other things as well. Here, this example is the dot is just the current directory. Also to map another like /memory in my home directory, for example, and this is read write by default, and some other info with a flag that is read only. So then the Cloud Code will not be able to edit any files in this directory. Sometimes it's good to know that I have some data that I don't need to worry about if the agents by mistake or by some other way changed anything there. My usual like example is that the dot is like the current project that I'm working on. I know that it can edit the files because they are already versioned in Git or some other source control. Then I can also always like undo anything that it changed. Some memory needs to be like read write so that it can persist some information between sessions. And maybe some read-only info directory where I have to put some, I don't know, for example, like exported Jira tickets, and I don't want to worry that it might change those tickets because it found that it is a good idea. And now you should not have to worry about leaking credentials specifically. Of course, you have to worry about some other things, but not about leaking credentials. And this was my main worry when I wanted to use it. And so I refused to run unrestricted cloud code on my computer. My first idea was to use some VirtualBox or maybe some Docker containers. But then now when Docker has a very convenient tool to run specifically those kind of things, and you can control in a very good a good way exactly when do you want to have it, which files do you want it to have access to, and whether to have them read write on or read only. You don't have to worry about any credentials. You don't have to worry that it will even, I don't know, use your own Git signing keys or something like this. Then you don't want to give it. Then I think this is a pretty good way to use it safely. And pretty much that's it. The slides are available on this address if anyone wants to follow the links to read the articles or to find how to install it. And so, yeah, so thank you. And that's it.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you very much. It was fun. Of course, the majority of people are going to go back home and dangerously skip your missions and just. But yeah, it is honestly really scary to me how much power do we give to those tools. But yeah, no time for questions. Unfortunately, once again, we are keeping up with the tradition of running over time. Again, Rafael is here during the break, I presume. So ask your questions away. And in the meantime, pizza is over there to the right, and then to the right again on the kitchen. So see you in 20 minutes, 30 minutes, something like this. We have 2 microphones now. We have been upgraded since before the break. So,
Okay, we start?
yeah, we can start.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Yeah, actually, it should have been a very energetic
No,
talk.
no, wait. No. You cannot start because we
Okay.
need a round of applause first after the break. Yes. Thank you. And now introduce yourself and let's go.
Make it in 23 minutes, but yeah, after food, I feel like a power nap. So yeah, it might be not that energetic. So we're going to talk about testing strategies for React and React Native applications today. My name is Evgeny. I'm going to tell you about myself a bit. So here are some really nice animations and some of my passions. Here is me on bicycle, doing some Brazilian jiu-jitsu, surfing, flying the plane, riding the motorcycle, but for sure, we're not going to talk about this boring stuff today. We're going to talk about biggest passion, which is JavaScript for sure. And today we're going to talk about testing and why it's so problematic. So I'm working as a senior engineer at DataArt, and mostly I also act like an expert JavaScript in DataArt. I'm conducting a lot of interviews, doing a lot of due diligence and some investigations for different clients. And actually, I conduct around 20 interviews a year, and I see a problem with every candidate that I'm interviewing. Like, we're going through JavaScript questions, we're going through React questions, everything is okay. Then we start talking about tests, and it's like, oh no, I know what is jest, and that's it, in 90% of the cases. So we're going to talk about why it's so problematic in nowadays. And we might start with a question you might heard at least one time in your career, like how much coverage do we have? And usually it's really hard to answer this question because in React applications, you don't know how much coverage do you have because it's like user-driven application usually. But when you ask people, they usually tell you like, oh, we have everything covered. And then you go to the test and you see a snapshot for every component. And that's actually a fake coverage. Or for example, you go to the application, you see zero coverage at all, like maybe app TSX is covered, maybe some small microservices, no component tests at all. Or you see copy-paste tests. So many times I saw this problem, like you see some meaningful tests that are actually doing something, then you start to investigate, you look on one component, another component, and they all look the same, they have the same structure, same idea, and you see how engineers work on a project, like they're creating this copy-paste test just in sake of creating tests because they need to. And that's actually not testing anything and doesn't bring value to the project. And apart from these problems, we have a complexity problems in tests. And the first complexity problem is going to be mock hell. I'm sure you saw this a lot of time. When people doesn't use just config and you go to every test and you see this, dozens of spions, dozens of mocks, sometimes without restoring these mocks and creating mocks again inside describe blocks. And it's really hard to read and hard to maintain. And again, you don't have a just config. You need to, when you create new tests, you actually need to do it all over again and copy paste it, or you need to spend time to move it to just config, which we're not going to do. So that's how many projects are ending up. And then we have an act hell. So sure you saw act error if you're doing testing in the React application. When you have some asynchronous logic, you have to wrap it with act, but actually you don't know which part to wrap exactly. So you're going to wrap everything with acts. And that's what's happening. You go into test file and you see acts wrapping the whole test file. And that's also not correct because some of test functions are actually have act underneath them. And then testing styles instead of doing snapshots. So it's more for older projects, but people tend to test paddings, margins, colors. I don't know where they're doing this, but yeah, this is not agnostic test. And for some reason, we have a lot of this, and then you change something, you need to go to test and change it, or you delete it and you reduce your coverage, and then you need to tell your product owners that I deleted a bunch of tests, which is also not good. So key problems from engineering side is copy pasting, overhead testing. Engineers doesn't know how to properly write and create and structure complex tests. No experience with end-to-end tests. And because of this, people are moving a lot of things to like integration test level. Integration tests are looking same as props testing with Enzyme from 2016. And on project side, it's low coverage and reliability, low budget for testing because no one wants to give you money for something that is not visible, and sometimes projects with zero coverage at all. And then the question that we have, like how do we survive without tests and how our applications still work? And here we have QA engineers that comes to you every time you create some, you work on some user story and they create the bug tickets and you fix those bug tickets and product is happy. You're not as happy because you need to fix bugs, but that's how it works in most of the companies. And to outline this loop, how it looks like, you have a code base with tests, which is the shitty test base because it does nothing. It's always green. It never catch any error or bug. And then you have manual QA who is going to catch bugs for you, and client is happy. So if client is happy, if business is happy, then why would they invest into some testing? That's a good question for you. So our job today is to figure out how to test properly and how to properly sell it to your managers, to your stakeholders, because testing is for you to keep your code base safe and to keep you from working on weekends and on calls. So to talk about testing, we need to first talk about testing history. So somewhere in between of dinosaurs appeared on the Earth and meteorites hit them, we had appearance of React and Enzyme. So please raise your hands who tested with Enzyme at least once. Okay, we have some dinosaurs in the room, so that's good. Okay, so so yeah, an Enzyme is a technology that plays somewhere in the same room with callback hell, variable hosting, and now Enzyme, which is deprecated, still used in some applications. Unfortunately, because they haven't migrated to testing library, but yeah, that's how it is. How Enzyme tests look like? We imported Enzyme and Enzyme adapter to shallow render things. We imported this Enzyme to JSON helper, created new, configure new adapter, and then here you can see example of Enzyme test. So on the right side, we have a test where we shallow render some toolbar. Then we check properties of this toolbar, we simulate some clicks, but mostly Enzyme is about simulating and checking properties. So with Enzyme, you usually want to check that your component receives the props that you send to it, and you usually mock these props, and that was about how it works. And it's used shallow render as a concept. So shallow render means that you render your components in isolated manner, so you don't render underlying children, so it's render only top level components. And because of that, you're able to test only, you need to write tests for every component for sure, and you are not able to properly test screens interactions and this kind of stuff. And when hooks were introduced, we migrated to testing library. Maybe someone didn't migrate till that time, but the problem was that Enzyme didn't provide any tooling for testing hooks. And like me personally, I migrated full project to testing library. And then Enzyme introduced some hook testing after that. So here we can see the pyramid of testing. So on the bottom, we have unit testing, which is the most cheap test that you can write. Then you have integration testing, and then end-to-end, which is the most expensive one. And now we talk about what is unit test and what do we use it for. So here you can see the simplest function is a format price. It's isolated function. And for this isolated function, we can add some unit tests, run it, and expect it to return some results. For using unit testing, we use, to use them, we use Jest or WeTest in different projects. And usually Jest comes with helpers like expect, Jest function, spy-on, and mocks. And for testing hooks, we're using testing library, so you can test hooks with Jest. What do we call integration test? So this is classic example of integration tests. It's not about React application, but in a backend world, if you see some microservice, let's say we have this federated graph in the middle, and this federated graph is talking to other graphs. So to perform integrated tests on this federated gateway, you need to actually build and run all the microservices together. They're going to talk to some QA databases, and when you run this all together and you perform tests on them, that's called integration test. What do we call integration test in React? Actually, in React, it's a bit different, but the idea is that when we have a testing library and we render some screen, for example, and this screen has underlying children, these children can talk to each other, so you can have some tooltip and some buttons. So when you press on the button, tooltip appears. That's called integration test in React. So you kind of integrate different components with each other. And here's a good example on the right side. Like we have a tooltip, we find the button, we click on this button, and after clicking on this button, we expect some element to disappear from the screen. So we had different components, and we integrate them together and test. What do we call end-to-end testing? So end-to-end testing is actually your ability to run your application on a real device or on a simulated device. So probably you're going to run it on some simulators for iOS and Android, and on some simulated Chrome environment for web applications. And it's your ability to go through the user flow, how a user will go through this flow. And for sure, end-to-end testing is the most expensive one because it's taking amount of time that user takes when they go through this flow. So when you run integration, it's going really fast on your machine or on some CI/CD. When you run end-to-end, it's going to take time, and sometimes people end up with 4-hour pipelines because they mix end-to-end testing with something different. It's a problem for many companies, I think. So here is an example of how end-to-end testing look like. So it's more imperative example of Detox. So Detox is a library for React Native to perform end-to-end tests. So you can see it's looking like a JavaScript. So you are waiting for some elements to be clicked. You're waiting for some elements to be found. So you can have a lot of tests like this actually written and it's run on a separate CI/CD machine that will run some simulators and simulated web application. Then we have Playwright end-to-end. It's also looking same as Detox, but difference is that Playwright is for React web applications. And here we have Maestro. Maestro is end-to-end testing for React Native, which look declarative. So the idea of Maestro is that anyone probably in your team can write it, so you can give ability to write end-to-end test to your QA engineer or to your product owner. So just a YAML file that is going to be executed on a built application. And with this, you also can perform end-to-end test, but in a simpler manner. So now we know about what types of tests are there. And now the question is how we apply unit tests. So we apply unit tests usually for isolated functions. It can be some isolated code block, reducers, selectors, action creators, error normalization, and actually anything that is isolated block of code. So we can apply it to some state machine, to some parser, or analytic event. Then important things you'll need for your unit tests is to know what is just mock and just fn. And here is a good example. So here we have some fetch user function that is going to call Axios, some user collection with authorization token, and how to actually properly test it. We don't want to hit the API, not just because we don't want to overload the API. We actually don't want to hit the API because API is flaky. Sometimes it can go down. Sometimes you can receive some errors. So the idea is that you can mock the whole model. You can mock the Axios. And here we use just mock to do it. And here we mock the whole model, just mock Axios. And then we give Axios mock result value for a get method. So when Axios is going to be called with get method, is going to return you this object that you defined. So you can always be sure that when you run your test, result will be always the same that you set for it. Here is another example for React Native screens. So we have React navigation. For example, we want to test that when you clicked on the button, it actually got called and actually lead you somewhere. So to perform this, you need to mock navigation and create a fake function with fn. So with this just a fan, now you can observe it and you can understand with which parameters it gets called. So when you actually click on the button, you render a home screen, you fire one press, you find the button by text, and then you expect that mock navigate, your function from use navigation, got called with some particular params, and you can observe it. So that's what just mock is about. What is just a fan in this case? So just a fan is a function, is a callable, so as a helper from just that allow you to observe calls, parameters, attributes. So really useful things that you're going to use everywhere where you test. Then what is just spy on? So there's a big confusion usually when I interview people. They can tell like what is mock, but then I ask like what is just spy on? They're like, oh, I don't know. It's a spy on something. Actually, it's we can call it a spy. So the idea is that with just spy on, you can spy on something without changing it. So sometimes we want to overlook some function. We want to proceed with execution of this function. So for example, for track on analytics, we don't want to mock it. We don't want to change the implementation, for example. We just want to make sure that it got called when we press some event, when we press some button. So without spying on it, we won't be able to track it. With spying on it, we can use the spy to then actually check how it got called. So that's the idea of a spy. But also with a spy, you can do mock result value as well. So yeah, question is when to use which of these functions. And back to our Axios example, we have our fetch user. So with spy on approach, the difference between spy on and mock is that with spy on, you actually can add mock result value for one particular method. So we spy on an Axios get, and we say that for get methods, we want to return this kind of data. And the thing is that other methods from Axios is going to stay real. And like maybe Axios is not the best example, but sometimes you want to spy only on one particular thing, and you want to have all the other stuff in the libraries that you're mocking to properly execute. With a just mock, on the other hand, if you mock it, you're going to mock whole module. So everything, you can see it here in the bottom, everything like Axios post, Axios create, everything is going to be mocked function. So sometimes that is not what you want. So you need to choose the approach according to your needs. So to recap on this, we have just a fan with just a fake function that you use to observe it. We have just spy on if you want to wrap some specific method to oversee it, or maybe you want to change only one small piece of implementation of this module. And you have just mock to mock actually whole modules if you need it. And also we have a test lifecycle. So for the test lifecycle, we have before all, after all, before each, and after each, pretty declarative. So it is something that is going to be executed after each test in your test suite or after all tests. And usually you want to execute some, clearing some mocks or doing some actions with the store, depend on your test. And here we have clearing mocks. So we have a bunch of functions to clear in mocks and reset them. But the most important here is restore all mocks, which is going to restore original implementation of every spy on function. So I suggest for you to use restore all mocks and forget about others. But for sure, even for just a fan, you can clear mocks on it. So here is example for so we have a button, and we clicked on it one time, and we had mock rejected value once here. And after on click, we expect it to be called one time. Then we click one more time, but before that we clear mock, and then to have been called one time again is true because we cleared the mock. So you're able to reuse one button multiple times if you need it, for example. So also pretty usable stuff. Why do you need to clear mocks? It's pretty obvious because we have a big testing suite, and your big testing suite, you're going to have a problem if you're not clearing them because your other tests are going to be dependent on your previous tests. And to recap on this, here are all lifecycle methods we have, but what do you need to actually remember is to restore all mocks after each test. You'll be good after this. And also, there is a better solution is to use just config. And And we'll talk about just config in a minute, but you can do it project-wide, set restore mocks to true. And after every your tests, you're going to have all mocks restored, and all your tests are going to start from a fresh page. And about just config. So just config is just a simple file, same as like bash config. So here you can set some values like test timeouts. You can set what files you want to match with your tests, what files you want to ignore with your tests when you run just test in your repo. And the important thing here is setup files. So in setup files, you can actually set a bunch of files which are going to be global mocks for your project. And I will show you an example of one open source project here. So we can see that we have a mocks folder inside this project. And inside this mocks folder, if we go inside, we have mock file for different libraries. And let's see what we have for file system library. So for file system, we have a bunch of mock functions here, and they have export default, exporting different functions that have that this library has in an object. So by doing this, you're going to mock this once and for all for your whole project. So you don't need to repeat this setup in every file. You don't need to create just mock for a file system in every test file. So you do it once, you update it if you need more use cases, but it's really usable, and I encourage you to do it in your projects as well. Okay, and now we can, after we know all of that, we can talk about real testing, how we test, how we do integration testing in React. So integration testing using testing library here. So we have a simple component with a button, with some buttons, with some titles, and use state. And here's going to be example of testing library tests that we perform on it. So we actually render this component with the testing libraries, and we click on some button, we find the dialog by role. Again, get by role and find by role are helper functions from testing libraries that allow you to find elements on the screen. Then we find some confirmation button, we check that it's disabled. Then we do some type by user. Then we check that button now enabled because we have some text. Then we click on another button, and after this we expect some function to be called, like delete account to be called, for example. So that's integration test that actually tests a bunch of different components all together and is testing user flow isolated for this screen. And there are a bunch of rules that you need to follow when you use testing library. So wrong patterns for using testing library and anti-patterns is testing implementation and not behaviors. So as I said earlier about enzyme, with enzyme we tested implementations, we tested properties that went inside the components. With testing library, we want to test user flow, so we want to see how user interacted with something. So you don't want to see that button is green, for example. You want to see that button got clicked, and after clicking the button, dialog appeared, for example, or some model. Then about testing rules, you can read it all on Ken.'s website. So Ken.'s is created testing library actually, and he has a lot of different articles about how you should test, how you should perform tests with testing library, and how you should get rid of testing strategies you had before with enzyme. And actually, here is a testing pyramid that you should stick to when you test JavaScript application, where you have integration tests as the biggest block and end-to-end tests a bit smaller and unit tests a bit smaller, because integration is the cheapest way to actually test user flow in your application. Okay, so then test what user does, not what the component is. What I said before, you need to check how user interacted with the component, not that inside this component you have some property and this property is equal to some text or to some color. Then use the query priority ladder. So you might want to give test ID to every component, but that's a bad practice. So you should stick to getting elements by role, by text, and your last resort should be giving them test IDs. Then render the biggest piece of UI you can. So the idea is that you don't need to test smaller buttons. If you have a screen where you have a bunch of buttons, where you have a dialog, where you have a model, you want to test the whole screen. You don't want to test separately every element, because again, we're testing user flow. We're not testing every particular component. So that's why test in bigger blocks, test screens, not the components. Then use one snapshot per component. And for the snapshot, there is a big question. Some people ask, like, are snapshots useful at all? And there is a real case scenario where you change the color of the button, for example, and you used Command-Shift-F to find all these instances of this button. And you see, like, oh, it's only 3 instances. Maybe this button get passed somewhere, not as a component, but as a string or something. And you made a mistake assuming it's only 3 places. Then you run tests and you see 30 screens are changed. So that's the use case for snapshots, and it's really nice. Is it a real case scenario for now? Like, if you're anticipating AI and you're not using Claude, probably for you it's going to be real case scenario. If you're using Claude or any other AI agent, for sure is going to capture it for you. But yeah, again, I encourage you to use snapshots. It's very useful to see what you actually change in the component. Okay, then you need to cover a happy pass, empty state, an error pass, and some accessibility for every test. So don't cover only, happy case. Also cover some error states. Then we talk about end-to-end tests real quick. So for end-to-end tests, you need to test user journeys. You don't need to test pixels. You don't need to test colors. So that's also what I see a lot. We have 4-hour pipeline checking that the padding here is 20 pixels, the color here is green, and it's just useless because you need to test user journey and the user actually passed your application, and it's okay. And with end-to-end testing, you need to pick targets that's by revenue. So the idea is that with end-to-end testing, you need to pick something that is valuable for your business. And if this flow is going to broke, if, for example, login flow is not working, no one is going to be able to log in or sign up, that's something that you need to cover. But if you have some page where you navigate through 10 different pages, and I don't know, maybe 10 users from your 100,000 user code base are using this page, probably it's not worth to cover it with end-to-end because it's going to take time in your pipeline. So don't log in through the UI for every test. It's also a problem where people use end-to-end testing and they log in through UI for every test. You can do it automatically, like with Playwright, they have API for that. Then capture evidence on failures, enable configs to capture video evidence of failure for you. Okay, I'm going fast. Use prod accounts for testing. I said it's not going to be that energetic after food. Okay, use prod accounts for testing and disable editing permissions, but with QA environment, you're actually going to have problems because it's usually flaky and different from prod on many different projects. And the last thing, I couldn't not talk about AI because everyone is talking about AI nowadays. So why do you need to care about tests at all if you have AI that is going to make it all for you? And actually, I had my pet project, and for my pet project, Claude did good with end-to-end testing. But then when it comes to integration tests, it did this. So it actually created a screen, checked that on the screen we have some titles, and it added some snapshots. So pretty useful test from Claude. And only after my correction, only after using a proper skill, Claude was able to make it proper and nice. So if you have an empty code base without tests, probably Claude is not going to be great for you. So you need to understand what you want to test, how you want to test, and you need to guide the AI anyway. Yeah, and yeah, also Claude didn't create just config for me. So in this case, it was also pretty useless. And I used this special skill for Claude. Anyway, it didn't do the job. And yeah, that's it. Thank you for attention. I tried to be quick.
Yep. Once again, unfortunately, no time for QA.
Oh, okay.
Because, well, you have negative 3 minutes left, unfortunately.
I know.
And but yeah, we have, once again, another round of applause. It was wonderful. Don't forget,
Thank you.
You can ask questions. You're going to still be here around for some time. So yeah, unlike our next speaker, who we have to move up in the schedule a little bit, and because he has to go. And it's going to be a fun, another slightly unscheduled lightning talk ahead of schedule. But yep.
All right, I need a minute, sir.
Right. You'll figure it out? Well, you have a lot of things to set up. It's both this and that. Looks very serious. Oh, nice weather today, is it not? Right?
Here, yes.
Yes. I'm enjoying. I honestly, yesterday was pretty bad, so I'm enjoying while it's not as scorchingly hot as it is usually during this time. Okay, yeah. I don't know. Do people still talk about the weather? Do even people in Poland even talk about the weather at all? I don't know. Oh yeah, AI. Yes. I wish people thought more about. You're more of like Rafael, thinking about AI safety, because I'm thinking, what will my agents do while I'm here delivering this talk, and my actual day-to-day job is being done by AI agents at this very moment. Anything bad can happen. Okay. It's getting really comfortable, and are you ready?
I am ready.
Excellent. So please.
All right. A repo that you've never seen before. Okay, first, by show of hands, who knows what a repo is? Who doesn't know what a repo is? Okay, it's okay to not know. REPL is a read eval print loop, and that means that that's the kind of thing that allows for interactive programming, like when you type node or enter a browser console. Who knows what this is? What is it? It is Clojure, yeah. It's a programming language that I like and use. And who knows what this is? It's remarkable. It is remarkable. It's a paper tablet. Can you see where this is still going? All right. I'm going to show you today a way of writing code that you, I think you haven't seen one before. All right. Thank you. Can I now invite Anna to the scene? Give her a hand. Not. And I'm gonna stand here. All right. And I'm gonna write some code. Let's apply str. And you can see that I'm distressed. Let's see how it goes. Let's not do it like this. Let's do it like this. Hello. And reverse. Bank SJ or SRA double close parent, close parent. Let us now see whether anything happens. Something should happen within 15 seconds or so. If it doesn't, you can see that it completely misunderstood that I meant hello WarsawJS. Anyways, let's try to define some function. a factorial one. X y times range 1 increment. Bang, 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 bang. Another 15 seconds need to pass. This is slow, and I will show you why this is slow. There we go. Now let's calculate some factorial. Factorial.
It's not easy.
Not easy at all. There we go.
Oh.
Here we go. Murphy's law at work. This works better when you're not up here presenting. But you can at least see that this is a live demo, not just something that I've set up. Okay, let me try again. FA. Can see there, it thought that I wrote FNC, not fuck. There we go. That's it for the demo. Thank you, Anna, so much. And it's not all. Let me just close this and go back to the presentation. All right. So how this works? You write something on the screen. Then the native UI of the Remarkable, which is called showtitle, picks this up. Then about 12 seconds later, it writes the updated notebook page in the native form, but the file system. From there, a closure process that's listening to changes in this notebook page picks it up, calls the Anthropic API and asks Claude to figure out what I wrote, gets the text back, evaluates it, calls back to ImageMagick to render that evaluation results as an image. And then that rendered output is moved here to a file that the showtitle interface is polling every second or so. And if it detects an entry that says inject the image here, then it does so and a written output appears. So I have no time to go into the detail of it all, but I would like to focus on this last bit. So this is like not some like first-class app I wrote. This is all running on the native UI of the Remarkable that comes with it out of the box. The one minor modification that that I made is this this plugin that you can see here. And the trick is that Remarkable's UI is written in Qt, which is a C++ framework. But these days, it's not just C++, it has this declarative way of specifying interfaces, which is kind of like HTML or kind of like React, in that you have a tree of nodes, each of which describing one part of the UI. And you can decompile this thing, and you can figure out how this QML looks like, and write this like divs, as it were, to say that go to the main view of the app, and then after the last subnode of it, insert the timer that runs every second and does something when triggered. And that something is written in, who would guess? JavaScript. So basically, it does a like old style pre-JS6, pre-ES6 XML HTTP request call to get a local file, and if it succeeds, then splits it into lines, and then it gets the image URL from the first line, the X and Y coordinates from the second and third line, and then basically calls this insert image file as scene item to put the output on screen. And that's what I have. Thank you. Sorry? I challenge you to find a way to do so.
Well, okay. If only there was an even more stressful way to do live coding. I don't think it's humanly possible to do that, but it was really fun. I can take it. Thank you. That's beautiful. Okay. Well. Yeah. So do you have the? Yeah, that. So, well, our next speaker is setting up. And the name of our next speaker is Mateusz. And give me, I live here for quite a long time, and I think I'm decent enough in reading Polish words and Polish last names. Is it Mateusz Chrząstowski? Perfect. Wait, is it perfect? Oh, okay. Woo!
Very good. Please. Very good. Very good.
I love your phone.
Yeah. Cool. Good morning. Today I will talk you through documenting software architecture with C4 model and some tools which can help you follow this model. Let me start with a short disclaimer. Perspective matters. And here, there is even a third perspective in the comment, in the screenshot. The comment says, I don't get it. He is bald. He has no hairs in both pictures. Yeah. What's the difference? So perspective matters, and I'm emphasizing this at the very beginning because what I will be saying during this presentation is coming from my perspective, and you can check my experience on my social media, for instance, on LinkedIn. Regarding this, all these profiles, it's also important to note down this one link. It is a link to these slides, so you can capture this and come back to them later. I work at InPost at daily basis as a staff software engineer, and because of that, I'm kind of more into documenting some architecture. Now I'm using this like C4 I will be talking about. And I also have some Udemy courses, and I initiated a project and published a comic book about a Battle of Chodów, and it is interesting because tomorrow we have an anniversary of this battle, which happened in 17th century. But yeah, that's a side topic, of course. How this architecture C4 module started. So it started by Simon Brown, who was running architecture workshops to various teams. And one of the very first tasks he was giving to the audience was to draw an architecture. And this is how things were going sideways sometimes. Yeah, you see this diagram, perfect. And then you have sometimes too overwhelming, sometimes too generic. Yeah, like with this. This kind of diagram can, describe you any system. You have business logic, you have error handling, you have anything you want, yeah? And so on and so forth. You can check his presentation. The first 5 minutes shows even more funny situations. But he realized, thanks to this exercise, that teams are not targeting a proper audience with a proper level of abstraction, yeah? And what is C4 model all about is to navigate through different levels of abstraction abstracting your architecture, depending on whom you want to present this architecture to. And back then, when he was inventing this approach, he was into photography, so he came up with this analogy of using various contact lenses for various photos, but it's not super catchy analogy if you are not into photography, probably. So then he switched into the analogy of maps. So you start with the context, then you zoom into the containers, then you go into components, and from components to code. And let's go slowly through these levels. You start with the context diagram. So this is very broad level where you want to visualize your system and the surroundings of these systems. And this diagram should be even for non-technical people. Yeah, anyone is able to understand. Simple shapes, simple, straightforward way of presenting your software. And in order to understand system context diagram, it's worth to also understand how software system is defined in this C4 approach. And this is something which system is something delivering value on its own. It can deliver this value to human users or non-human users, call it as you want. What is most important thing I would say is that system is owned and built by a single developer team. And this kind of diagram at this level of detail is recommended for all teams to have. Then from context, you zoom into containers. So we are in the individual system now here. And this system is split into containers. And it's not necessarily Docker container. The name is confusing because he came up with this name somewhere around when Docker was also starting. So that's the confusion coming from. But it's actually not as bad analogy to combine this containers from C4 with containers from Docker, because this diagram targets some sort of infrastructure, for instance, team. You can present it to your operations teams and say that, okay, these are the runtimes I would like for my system to be up and running. Yeah, so you have some sort of static files, you have some sort of buckets, you have some databases, and each thing like that is your container. I already said these things, but what's also worth emphasizing again is what we see in the picture, that here we can even see some major technology choices. So when we have database, we can see this is a relational database or non-relational, yeah? And we also see how the containers communicate with each other. Container here, as I said, it's not necessarily Docker, it's something which is up and running for you. This is also recommended, but I see I'm out of bounds for this resolution. Then we navigate for the individual container. So here we were having the backend container itself, yeah, and we zoom into it. Previously it was here in the middle. We can now zoom into and see individual components of this container. So this is even more of technology, of implementation level of detail, and component here can be understood as a group of single functionality. We have some dedicated interface, some API, and under the hood there are maybe a bunch of classes, maybe just a single class from object-oriented programming or some set of functions, but these are all grouped into in this component here. What's interesting here is Simon Brown is not recommending this. If we want such level of detail, we should automate the creation of it. And then code is even less recommended. As you can imagine, there is not even a dedicated notion in C4. We just follow some sort of UML diagrams to visualize the code. And the recommendation is to generate it on demand. Your integrated development environment probably is able to do this for you on demand. Then we have some supporting diagrams. I will rather skip them. I will just show you that there is the system landscape diagram, which is basically the system context diagram, but you are not focused on individual system. You are having more systems, like here, for instance, for the banking, you can have also ATM in the picture, which has some software running and so on and so forth. I will skip other supporting diagrams. I will show them in action during demo. But now I want to emphasize the difference between the system and the container, because that's the most confusing part in my opinion. So we can understand this difference basing on the example from C4 model webpage itself. When we are having a new team or new system to build, we usually should start probably rather boring architecture, monolithical stuff, and so on. So at the context level, no matter what we have under the hood, we have user and our system realizing some sort of features. Then at containers, this individual system might be already some sort of runtime environment running up like JVM or Node.js and database. Yeah, but then we can say we are slowly moving toward microservices, or we actually moved to microservices because our product, our system was successful. That's the moment when we should scale it to individual deployments. And then at the system level, we are still having a system, a single system, but at containers level, we split. That's where the difference is worth emphasizing. We can even further build other features. For instance, here, let's imagine this is like a Lambda function, stateless, so it's not having a database, but it's still having its own container. So at the containers level, we visualize this all. At the system level, we still have a single box. And only when individual microservices start to be divided between teams, we should switch in the context diagram to visualize multiple boxes. Yeah, that's when it hits, because we remember from this first definition I was providing for system in the C4 is that each system is owned by each team. So no earlier than when we move them, we visualize them at this system diagram. And then one more thing important from this containers perspective is that we can think of this. It's an easy analogy to confuse these containers with Docker, yeah, because of the name, but it's suboptimal, because then imagine we are having asynchronous communication between services. So it is tempting to have this Kafka or whatever message broker is as a single container, but it will be suboptimal from the diagramming perspective, from the documenting perspective, because we are not exactly seeing if every service is talking with each other, and reality can be different because we can have different topics, and it might be the case that each pair of services is talking with each other through different topics. So that's better to visualize even each individual topic at different container, as different container. So at Docker, we will have probably single Kafka, but inside we will have a separate setup for each Kafka queue or topic or whatever we use. Switching from this theory to practice, we need to divide tooling we can use into two categories. We have diagramming tooling and modeling tooling. What's the difference? Glad you asked. We have diagramming, which is the simplest we can have. Yeah, we are having a whiteboard even, and it is some sort of diagramming tool. We just start drawing. And modeling tools start with some sort of non-visual model, something which is a source of truth for our later visualization. We should start with emphasizing what are the elements, what are the relationships between the elements in some sort of. Then what it gives us, it's a higher entry cost to have the modeling tool. But imagine if we have multiple diagrams and some systems are in each diagram, when the system name changes, we need to go through all the diagrams and change its name accordingly. When we have a modeling, this system is described just in a single place. We just refactor the name, yeah, like change the name, and all the visualizations built on this model are changing accordingly. So that's superpower of modeling. And another superpowers are laying in the querying, for instance. You can query your model, you can ask questions, what are the dependencies of my component? And the modeling tool is able to respond, while diagramming tool will require you this OCR stuff, which was presented right before the presentation, for instance. Yeah. For tooling, for diagramming tooling, if we want to reuse some parts, we need to copy paste. For modeling, it's much easier. And then the examples, I will provide some live action examples of tools like Mermite, which is diagramming tool, and for C4, which is a modeling one. And the official one from Simon Brown from C4 is the structurizer. but we will skip this for this presentation. Let's dive into like C4. And the name here is catchy. Yeah, it's not C4. This is something like C4. That's why it's called like that. Because it allows you to strictly follow the C4, but you can have it much broader. You can have much more flexibility when defining things. So it starts not by enforcing you to use these systems, containers, components, and so on. It starts when you provide your own grammar, your own domain-specific language. You define, okay, I want to have an element called system, but I can have another element. In my current company, we are starting from domains, from subdomains, from areas, and only then we have systems. So it's much broader. It allows us such level of flexibility. Then, having this grammar defined, we can build model from this grammar. And then we visualize the model with views. And what is superpower, the source of truth here for everything I've mentioned, is the text. So this is also LLM friendly. It can be versioned in your Git and anything else you want. So here is a demo. I have a repository which is about fairy tales. So you can have like 3 pigs fairy tale. You know, there were 3 little pigs. They needed to move from mom. One built house of straw, one built house of wood, another one from bricks. And there was a big bad wolf who wanted to eat them. And he was blowing their houses down and they were escaping and so on. And I created a repository when I modeled all this. I tried to emphasize this fairy tale, all the rules, all the invariants that you can build the house and you can break this kind of house. You cannot break this. I built it with domain-driven design and clean architecture. And I also extended it later to not only tell you the story about 3 little pigs, but also the Little Red Riding Hood. So this is for another talk. But for this talk, I visualized both systems, like this system with both containers under the hood with C4. So we can see in action how this like C4 acts. We have the user with fairy tales, and I'm having a way of navigating between these parts. I can first maybe check what this fairy tales is about. I see this is system for integrating with the 3 little pigs and the Little Red Riding Hood. So perfect. I can navigate further. I can zoom into. So now I switched in from system to the containers level. And I'm seeing that my app is built with Java for as a first glance. Yeah, there is a user who interacts not only with the system, but we see that within the system, user actually interacts through the Spring application. And this Spring application is having 2 separate apps, which are having separate databases, separate like message brokers, and so on and so forth. I can then navigate even further to the component level, and this clicking all here is possible because I'm having a model which is source of truth, and the 3 little pigs container is identified once in the model, and now I can present it differently. So this is how it works. I now see that under the hood, this fairy tale about the 3 little pigs is having REST controllers, it's having command line runners, so I'm having 2 possible ways of interacting with it. But then this REST controller, how does it work? It goes through the command handler. The command handler goes through various systems like repository, like house factory for building houses, like house aggregate, which encapsulates some rules, and so on and so forth. So this all is now interactive. I can play with it and have a lot of fun discovering my system through the diagrams. But let's now take a step back. We've seen the demo, so now let's take a step back to understand how this like C4 is designed under the hood. And as I was saying, we start with some sort of specification, some sort of grammar. So we have to define a domain-specific language we want to follow. And I decided to follow strictly, as we were seeing in this example, to follow pretty strictly with C4 itself. So I'm creating element, and only element here is the keyword I need to know from like C4. And then I'm creating my own keywords I will use later. So actor is something I will be using a lot. Then we have system, which I will be using. We have this container, but I also created for convenience some helper containers. Yeah, so we see additional elements which are already styled, so they are rendering with appropriate shape and they are still classified as containers. So I'm using these tags from like C4 to group similar concepts through these tags themselves. Then we have component and so on and so forth. We also can create another keyword relationship, and we can define what kind of relationship it is and provide some default styling. And by the way, here we saw the tags I also defined myself. So I'm creating everything I can later use. And how like C4 works under the hood? It goes through all the files. These files are ending like .c4 or .likec4, parses it, creates a JavaScript representation of my model from these files. So if I have JavaScript, I can then run some JavaScript tests, for instance, using vtest, why not? And I'm able to now enforce some rules, because what we were having in this grammar was not any enforcement. It wasn't like system needs to contain containers, containers need to contain components. It wasn't anywhere there. I can put system under component, but if I have tests, which I do now, I can assert and I can ensure my model from C4 is followed within my .c4 files. So I'm, for instance, creating a system description, like system rules that, every system should be owned by a team. We remember that rule. It was in the C4 model itself. So I'm enforcing more than like C4 tool is providing itself. So I'm doing this with JavaScript tests. So it's nice. We also had to talk on tests themselves. I also provide additional rule that each system should have at least 2 containers. I'm providing another rules for containers themselves, that there should be technology provided at the container level and so on. And last but not least, for instance, one example from component tests. We have grammar, we have enforcement, how this grammar should combine, how the grammar elements should be combined. So now time for creating a model. This is modeling tool. So this is our source of truth to describe the system. We can have this syntax that we are providing a variable, which is a type of actor. Actor was my element I defined myself. This actor has a title of user and such description. And then I'm providing another thing, which is system itself. System is also a keyword I created because I wanted. We remember this rule. System should be owned by a single owner. So we have this metadata owner defined here, and my tests will check if I'm really having them. And then what I'm doing here under the system, I'm creating nested elements, which are containers. And by the way, I used 3 different syntaxes to show you that C4 model is having, like C4 tooling is having like flexibility. So I can first provide the variable name, then the type. I can also provide type and variable name later, with title and description being like inside, or I can mix the conventions. So I'm having here title, description, but I start with element and name, and then define things inside. This is the matter of preference. We can choose and follow one rule, but I wanted to demo something more. So all this we were seeing in action, but this is how we see this in code. I can also provide these relations. This is a standard relation. We were also having this asynchronous relations, so I could have this arrow with more details, but it's not the case here. And then I could footer nest. So I had this database, and I could footer nest containers inside it, but it would be less and less readable. We will have like this multiple nesting levels. So it's maybe better to divide not only within a file, but you can also have multiple files. And then each file can extend something which was created previously. So I'm extending a container from system and adding additional components here. So that's for convenience. And here we see this another syntax for this asynchronous relationship. And now it's also a shortcut that this component has a relationship with that, and so on and so forth. And then after having model, we are creating views. So we are now into a different context, let's say. Here we are creating a context view. What a coincidence, we are including everything from the top level. That's how you can read it. And then it will render the view. Then we are creating another view, which is a view of this system. And here I'm calling it C4/containers, and I'm including top level things, but I'm also including everything from this system where tag is container. So this is the flexibility C4 gives me. I will skip this and show you again the demo, how these different views are rendering. This magnificent icon here is coming from the scoped view. Yeah, I had a view of this individual system, and I have scoped view for individual containers. That's why this magnificent icon appears. But I can also navigate here, and you remember I was having this C4/, so this is how it renders ultimately. Like C4 represents these slashes in the titles as subdirectories. So this is how things work. All this was defined with my model I was having, yeah, and this model is now followed and used in the views. So imagine I'm changing the Spring app name, I'm changing the model, and all views presenting the Spring app name will change, update accordingly. So that's the power of modeling tool over diagramming tool. Nice. There is also a different power I have, and I cannot close it now, which is a dynamic view, and I will just navigate through it very quickly. This is, we were seeing in this diagrams from C4, that these were the static views. Yeah, they were showing some arrows, but those were rather relationships, dependencies. I had a dependency between database and repository, and it was just providing me that there are multiple, database operations I'm having in this repo. But dynamic view is better because it's also from C4, but as one of these supporting diagrams, and it allows you to show actually the process, the full flow. So I can have this dynamic view showing the life cycle of a wolf for the Little Red Riding Hood. So it starts with user interacting with REST controller. We are starting talking about with Wolf about people. So therefore, from REST, we are going to service. From service, we are going to Wolf itself. And it all results in Wolf being created and having a plan for eating the people we mentioned, yeah? Because this is how a Little Red Riding Hood was happening, yeah? The Little Red Riding Hood met Wolf and said, hey, I'm going to meet my grandma. So Wolf came up with a plan, okay, I will eat grandma and then I will eat you. So this is how things go in the code itself as well. And then we are switching back to the service. Service can go for repo, repo can go for database, and so on. And here is the result of this diagram. And this is super nice in like C4 because it is interactive, yeah? And now I see all these steps, and this is much more than just interaction between user and REST controller, because I see different flavors and at which stage we have of the process we have this interaction. So I'm seeing what I was showing in the code, I'm seeing here now as a visualization. So we start with user posting information about people, then this controller starts interaction with the service, service with Wolf. This results in Wolf being created, and then we save this Wolf, and then this Wolf is inserted into the database, and so on and so forth. I can also switch because this dynamic diagram has two flavors. One is this collaboration, and another one is sequence. So it is same story, but in maybe different visualization. And this is all possible because I'm having a modeling tool. So from the model, I can come to the visualizations easily. And another visualizations is deployment view. Here we are focusing on containers, and we are providing that this container is deployed in AWS or whatever. So I will just skip it quickly. And I will just mention AI because we need. As I said, LLM is parsing texts. So this modeling tool is a good candidate to be parsed by LLM, by your agents, yeah? We can add additional skills just from the like C4 webpage. And this is the setup you can follow to instruct your coding agent how to interact when you want to create, for instance, new files and so on. But what's even more interesting in my eyes is the MCP, which this like C4 exposes. So you can setup, you are having this JavaScript source of truth, this model, yeah, and it describes all the relations. So I can say, hey Claude, do you see MCP for like C4? Yes, I see. You can read individual elements, deployments, and so on. So I asked Claude, what are the relations of my in-memory event bus, and then going through the model, it was able to respond about direct and indirect relationships. And then that would be a recap of modeling. And let's have a short note on Mermite, which is diagramming tool. And this is also using text as a source of truth. And what is superpower of it is that you can just use this syntax in your markdown files on GitLab, GitHub, or whatever, and it will render diagram as you want. And also this like C4 can generate Mermite diagrams for you. And this is something it generates out of the box from my model. And this is how it visualizes in Mermite. It's not as beautiful, it's not as interactive, but still source of truth in text is a good thing. And then visualization in GitHub Markdown files is also very, very powerful. If you enter my GitHub, there is also a Mermite diagram hitting right you in the face about drinking coffee and something. Yeah, and this C4 is so powerful that Mermite is also trying to incorporate it, but it's experimental and it is not rendering nicely. It's even worse than the previous one I was having. This is the ordinary graph diagram for Mermite. Mermite is having a lot other flavors. It is having Git branches and so on. It has also this C4, but as you see, it's not rendered super nicely. Architecture is important. Thinking about it can avoid different inconsistencies in your systems and can help you coming up with the backup plan, with the recovery plan, how to transfer from the old architecture to the new one. It's important to visualize it, and I hope it showed you a bit how to do this with nice tools. If you like my style, you can follow me, follow my newsletter using this URL. You can subscribe to it. This is the link to this presentation again, and thank you for your attention.
That was fun. Honestly, I'm already thinking about going back home and drawing, like modeling all the things. That doesn't have to be C4. It's just anything. Yeah. Well, again, I don't think we have the time for questions. It's a running theme for all the speakers today, but it is what it is. I mean, you can still you're still here, right? So
yeah, a bit. You can catch me.
Yeah. So do ask questions afterwards, but we need to wrap the meetup up because our hospitality has its limits, from what I understand, and the time is running out. But we still have a couple of things to go through. But these are not going to be talks. These are just going to be some things you might be interested in. One moment. Oh, there you go. As if nothing happened. Right. The most important slide of them all. I want to see people with hands up scanning this QR code right here. And this is really important for us to, you give us feedback, you tell us what you liked or you hated, so we can do better next time. And this is what helps us be better over time and improve and iterate. And thank you to every single person who fills this out. And we have a mystery meetup apparently next month, but I'm telling you, it's going to be fun for sure. It's going to be a mystery, but it's going to be fun. Maybe do we have something? No, it's fine. It's fine. Just follow us on social media. We'll announce things for sure, but it's going to be fun. Maybe I'll speak about something. Right. And if you're interested in attending the mystery meetup, you can scan this QR code right here and get some discounted tickets. Yes. You see people scanning, and that is good if you want to. Or Okay, still scanning. Still scanning. Phones down. And now, or if you're interested in feeling generous, you can buy an entire year worth of tickets for 420 PLN and support us. It helps us with financial planning and things. And it's fun you never have to think about buying a ticket. And that's what I used to have until I started emceeing the meetup. And now I no longer have to pay for the tickets. I think this is the last slide. I'm trying to press right. And yeah, I guess thank you for coming. And it's been a real pleasure. And thank you for Data Art for hosting us here again. And bye-bye. Oh, okay. Yes, not bye yet. Just come back. So everyone come on stage right here and we'll take a big picture with everyone. Yeah.